Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Mat. I'm Brother Calvin Muhammad, your host, and we have an incredible, dynamic, outstanding conversation for you today. I'm really excited about what's going on today. And let me just explain, for those of you all not familiar on what Beyond the Mat is about, this was a program inspired and directed by, of course, Grandmaster Abdulaziz Muhammad, National Trainer of the Nation of Islam. And the purpose of this is to allow people to get to experience the National Training Corps. Now, throughout the 26-year history of the National Training, a lot of people still have the misconception that the National Training is just about martial arts. And that's why we titled this Beyond the Mat. So, of course, I want to send a shout out to our big brother, of course, our instructor, our teacher, the national trainer, Grandmaster Abdulaziz Muhammad. And if you haven't already done so, make sure to like the official Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad, the YouTube channel. Make sure to like the Facebook channel. And of course, the National Training, we're on Facebook as well. And you can find us on Instagram at NOINTC. Now, what I want to do right now is allow you all to experience. Many of you all, if you've been to the Nation of Islam, you already know this beautiful young man. But I want to allow you all to experience this brother in the conversation. Let me just express my sentiment. He's a brother in the Nation of Islam. We like to say that the Nation of Islam is full of hidden jewels. I don't know how hidden he is because he's sparkling right now. And I look at him as a mentor, as many do. Now, there's something in the Nation of Islam called the Number One Program. And this brother has grown immensely in becoming one of the fruit of Islam who's able to go out into the street and to connect with people using the Final Call newspaper. He, of course, is an author, and we're going to share a little bit about his book today. He is, I would say a rapper, but I'm going to go ahead and say lyricist, because I think our brother is truly skilled. You talk about your top five. I think brother's going to have to be one of my top five as well.
His body laid in red wall, twisted and broken poses, blood puddles soaking his clothing, look like roses, swimming Moses, and Moses couldn't save him. We leaving the way we came. Assalamu alaikum.
I want to introduce to everybody who's listening, whether you're in the Nation of Islam or not, our brother, my brother, big brother, brother Hashim. How you doing today, brother? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Well, what an introduction, boy. It's on now.
You know that introduction didn't even do you justice, brother. I really am honored to have you today.
I'm ready.
You're always ready. And for those of you all in the Nation of Islam, we're going to be talking about the Final Call newspaper, but we're going to dig a little deeper today. So I don't want you to think this program is just for the Nation of Islam or because you're not selling the Final Call newspaper, although you should be purchasing it. But just because you're not selling the Final Call newspaper, that this doesn't apply to you. You'll find out that when we get done with this conversation with our brother, what he's going to share with himself, that if you take some of those principles and you apply them, you'll find out that they apply to you as well. So I'm going to jump right into it, my brother. First of all, I want everybody who's viewing and listening to get a chance to know you a little bit. How long have you been in the Nation of Islam, my brother?
I would say registered since May of 1994, but I was very active prior to getting my ex. So 89,
yes, sir.
89 is when I encountered it, and I've been engaged in the mission ever since.
Wow. So really, you came in contact in 89. And so we're looking at a good 32 years that you've been feeding off of the nation. And then you were blessed. You came in right before the Million Man March wave.
Yeah, I was there too.
Yes, I know you. I don't know a brother who wasn't there who was in the ranks. Praise be to Allah. Now, where did you come in at?
Chicago headquarters.
Chicago headquarters. Now, you born and raised in Chicago?
We say Chicago, but it's really 45 minutes west of Chicago, a city called Aurora, Illinois, west suburb of Chicago.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Drove through there many times. I think I stopped once, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Now, let me ask you this, as we kind of dive into this. You come in contact with the Nation of Islam in 89. What when you say contact, what was that contact?
First, let me say, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is one God, whose proper name is Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master Father Muhammad. I bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is the now risen Mahdi. And I bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is our risen Messiah. I greet you, the beautiful listening audience that you have grown, with the universal greeting words of peace in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for that, my brother.
You're welcome. So first, indirectly not knowing that I was being led this way, I was first fed hip hop. And through hip hop, I was fed subconsciously the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad through my favorite artist, Hakim, Public Enemy, Big Daddy Kane, not knowing all of the lyrics and all of the words. I just would sing these songs verbatim, not knowing what I was saying, like a lot of children today, just singing these songs, not knowing what the lyrics mean. And then the lyrics were safe. And you would hear lyrics like, all praises due to Allah, and that's a blessing. That's Rakim. And peace to the Nation of Islam, Rakim and Big Daddy Kane, and a follower of Farrakhan. Don't tell me that you understand until you hear the man. Public Enemy, not knowing that these were people, places, and things. I just would sing the songs verbatim. And then one day, a well-dressed Black man dressed in a suit and bow tie came to my mother's home with the Final Call newspaper, but he didn't present the Final Call newspaper. He presented himself and asked if I have ever heard of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I automatically connected the dots, and I asked him, the Farrakhan that Public Enemy is talking about? He said, yes. And I lit up, and I was hooked, line, and sinker on every word that he said, because as you know, a child and anyone who loves their favorite artist, they dress like them, they talk like, act like them, and they have the posters on the wall. And when he said Farrakhan, the same Farrakhan the Public Enemy was talking about, he quickly saw the excitement and said, you know, he's just down the street. And what did he say? What did he say that for? And asked would I like to go, not knowing what I was getting involved in, not knowing where I was going. All I thought about was Public Enemy. I thought maybe I was going to a concert of some sort. And it was. It was a concert beyond my scope of comprehension. And so when I went, it was definitely a culture shock, because Aurora, Illinois, although it's 45 minutes west of Chicago, then it was predominantly white, some Hispanic, and the Blacks there, not many middle class, but there were. But I was of the less fortunate in low-income apartments. And sometimes I would be the only Black person in the classroom. And I never saw Blacks in leadership, with the exception of some of the gang members in our neighborhood, maybe a teacher here or there, maybe a pastor here or there. But as a whole, I never saw Blacks in leadership until that first meeting when I went to the Nation of Islam, and I saw the brothers on one side and sisters on the other side. And I wondered, what are they doing over there? And who are these powerful looking Black men here? And what is going on and what is happening? And why did I have to get searched? And as we are taught now that thought travels 24 billion miles per second, I'd probably say mine was traveling at 48 billion miles per second, trying to figure out what have I gotten into. And so I noticed that it was a different culture shock. It was a different experience for me, but it was a good experience to see my people in power. And I knew right then and there, this is where I want to be. And I'm not sure who Allah is and what all this Assalamu alaikum is. I want to be a part of it. And all I want to know at this point is, do these people believe in Jesus? Because everything else, I'm with it.
That's powerful. Now, let me ask you something. How old were you?
Man, 89, I'd probably say I was 19.
Okay, yes, sir. 19 years old. Now, for those of you who are watching and listening, we're going to get into brother Hashim did some workshops at the national training. And for me and those who were attending there, we were very moved, and we're going to get into that. But before we do, I want to ask you this question. So you came in 94. Do you recall your first time going out with the Final Call newspaper? And if you do, tell me what you were feeling just to get out there.
I was feeling fear, anxiety of the worst kind, timidness. I call myself a pretty tough guy, but I was very, very afraid to approach our people. And I had somewhat of a speech impediment. I used to stutter, and it was all anxiety based. And if I would get nervous or afraid, I couldn't get it out. You could lie on me, and that would make me angry, and I would be so angry I couldn't articulate and defend myself. I was the type of brother that used to throw the remote control if the Chicago Bears lost, or if I wasn't winning the video game, I just acted out of anger because I was not able to articulate it. So then the Final Call newspaper was bi-weekly. It was $1. Mm-hmm. And the brothers went out, and I'd never seen so many Black people before. The first experience for me was on 87 and Dan Ryan. And the brothers went out, and I froze and I stiffened. I was so afraid that the people were hanging the dollar out of the window, pointing to me. I want one. I would be so afraid. Hey, brothers, you want one? You go take it too. I'm not going over there. And the brothers noticed that I was standing on the curb. Brother Tyrone, one of my first lieutenants in Chicago, grabbed me and told me to shadow him. And when I saw how easy it was, I did the prep talk to myself and started talking to myself, man. They're no different from you, and if they could do it, you could do it too. And I started talking to myself, and I began to challenge myself over and over and over again. And as I shadowed him, I realized that this is all in my head, along with my speech impediment. And that day, I lost that fear. That same day, I lost that anxiety. And the feeling I got from overcoming that challenge was such an exhilarating, satisfying, insatiable feeling that I obtained, that I became addicted to overcoming difficulty, addicted to just knowing that I overcame something that I was afraid. And I began to transfer that energy in other areas of my life. But that day was a day that I became FOI, I believe, just being able to communicate with my people that day.
That's very, very powerful. I mean, you said quite a bit within that that I think many can relate to. And if I could just dig a little bit on what you said, you used two terms. One, you mentioned fear, and two, you mentioned overcoming difficulties. Let's talk about the fear first. What exactly, where do you think that source of fear was coming from? Was it the people projecting? Where do you feel like that fear was coming from?
Well, there's a natural uncomfortability doing anything new for the first time.
Hmm.
Whether it's a new neighborhood, a new job, a new school, there's a sense of nervousness that goes with trying anything for the first time. But most of the fear came from not wanting to mess up. It was in me, the fear of rejection, not doing it right, peer pressure, from within myself, noticing other people successful at something that I was not successful at, and not wanting to misrepresent, not wanting to hear no, not wanting to experience and settle in of an experience of representing God versus the devil, someone who's alive versus someone dead, someone who is articulate versus someone not articulate, someone who has a rod and I have a rod, and kind of like Moses casting his rod with Pharaoh. It's some of the anxiety that goes with not wanting to make a mistake, mess up, say the wrong thing, and misrepresent. So all of this, coupled with doing it for the first time, it became a bit of an obstacle for me in my mind.
Now, let me ask you this, because as an FOI, I share that experience going out with the paper, especially when I went out my first time. Man, that was rough. I'd never forget it. It was in June of 1990 at the Juneteenth celebration in Milwaukee. And literally hundreds of thousands of people come out. So if you know somebody, chances are you're going to see somebody at the Juneteenth celebration. And I was in middle school. And that was the first time I got a suit and a bow tie. I had a red bow tie with a blue suit jacket and some gray slacks, but I was just out there all the way. but I remember seeing classmates and trying to hide because that fear is real. Let me ask you this when we talk about fear. So you had to face that head on when you were out with the Final Call newspaper. Did you have anywhere else in your life prior to that you had to challenge your fear? Or was that the first time that you had to challenge your face on?
Yeah. Of course, I've challenged fear practically all my childhood. Income apartments, fighting, running from bullies, and then one day no more running and having to settle in that thing and go for what I know. Fear is a natural experience, but it is mostly an illusion. If you don't challenge it, it is a real experience. But once you challenge the fear, you see that it's an illusion, really. If it's going to be a fight, it's going to be a fight. Somebody going to win, somebody going to lose. If it's going to be, no superhero can be a superhero without opposition. Why are you a superhero? You didn't have any challenges, no opponents. You're just a superhero. No, you have to have opponents, and then overcoming these things. But this was a little different with the Final Call newspaper. It wasn't a fight. It was a different type of fear. It wasn't being punked, but in my mind it was. It was me saying, it was all in my mind, because if somebody is saying, I would like to have the Final Call newspaper, here is the money for it, and I'm still afraid to give them the Final Call newspaper and take the money for it, that's a little something different. And that is mindset. That is fear that is in me that I have created in my own mind. An illusion that did not even exist, but does not even exist. But some of us create scenarios in our own head, and then we get what you call analysis paralysis, where we freeze in shock. And analysis paralysis stunts you. It freezes you, and that's exactly what happened. So yes, I've overcome fear before, but how about a different type of fear? this is not an opponent that I can take on. This is an opponent within myself. And that's a different type of challenge. And it's just mindset. And once I was shown, see, I remember my son, Golden Child.
Yes, sir.
Some of him as Kadir, Hakim, or Golden Child. I remember him struggling as a child, learning to tie his shoe. And I remember showing him a system on how to tie his shoe. And when he did it, he was so excited. He didn't jump, run, and hug me. He jumped up, ran, and showed his mother that he knows how to tie his shoe. The excitement of overcoming difficulty is an adrenaline rush. The challenges of algebra in high school. Some teachers just taught to a classroom, but one teacher singled in on certain ones that she saw was struggling. And when she focused in and learned how to communicate to me, it was such an exhilarating satiation knowing that, man, I could do this. And that's what this lieutenant, Brother Tyrone, did in Chicago. He focused in on me. He noticed this brother's not moving the way FOI move. This brother not engaging with the people the way we are taught. So when he taught me and then trained me on how to handle people, that right there was a game changer and a life-changing experience that I can never thank Allah enough for, because that is what the Nation of Islam is all about, handling people.
That's beautiful, and I'm glad you said that, because I want to jump into the jewel, if you will, that you've shared with so many, and Allah has blessed you to manifest it in literary form, called The Path. Now, explain to those who maybe have never read it before, even to those who may not be in the Nation of Islam. Could you explain what The Path is?
The Path is a system basically encompassing the mindset of Brother Tyrone and taking practical thought, if you will, then practical application, practical study, then practical application, practical knowledge, then practical application. And system, a combination of things that can show an individual on how to communicate whatever it is you're trying to do and get a reward or a benefit for it. So when dealing with people, there are many ways to connect with them. But one of the ways that you're going to have to connect is the knowledge of a thing, the knowledge of a product, the knowledge of a situation, the knowledge of an environment. You need the knowledge of something in order to solve it, a knowledge of a problem, full details of it. And then you're going to have to deal with something called conflict resolution eventually. Then you're going to have to be attractive in deeds, thoughts, and actions. And then after dealing with people for so long, you get into the types of people. And as an instructor, people are people, regardless of wherever they come from. You learn systems, and after dealing with people, again, for so long, one person will remind you 5 years down the line, I taught somebody like you before. 10 years down the line, I know how to address this problem, or I know how to handle this problem, because either that was me one time and I've been through what you're going through right now. So the Path is a system on how to handle people, basically. And the Path is an acronym that stands for patience, attraction, technique, and humility. For whether if it's a car, a house, whatever it is you're trying to sell or distribute, you're gonna need to be patient. You're gonna have to be attractive. And you're gonna need various techniques, meaning you're gonna need various lines, various pitches, various schools of thoughts, and things that you're gonna need to communicate to the person you're trying to talk to, because like all fish don't bite the same bait, all things don't interest everybody. So you're gonna have to interest them in their straight path in a way that appeals to that person. And then humility. We know humility is the way of inheritance. A humble person will go much further than an arrogant person. And so when somebody finds out you're genuine and you have a real genuine interest in them and you want the best for them, they're more susceptible not only to listen to you, but support whatever it is you're doing.
Mm. That's very powerful. You said, I noticed when you were talking about kind of the skill sets that you need, you didn't go all the way through them when you were talking about knowledge and things of that nature. After every one, you had to come back to practical application.
Sure.
Why do you think that's so important?
It's the same with any school of thought. Once you understand something, the saying is, in simpler terms, once you know better, you do better. So it's one thing to know something, but that's why I think the church is kind of, and I'm speaking in general terms now, it's kind of losing its power in this dispensation of time. It's because it's going to take more than knowing who Jesus is. It's going to take more than knowing who God is. In the book of James, it says, faith without works is dead. And many times when I encounter our people with the Final Call newspaper, they say they're just going to pray for them. We're just going to pray for our people. No, we're not going to support your cause. I'm just going to pray for them. And I tell them the book of James chapter 2 says faith without works is dead. And that's basically the Black community. How is it that we have the most churches in the Black community and the most crime? That means that there is a knowledge, but not an application of that knowledge. How do you have the most churches, the most God, the most spirituality, the most prayer, but the most crime, the most decadence, the most death? That means someone has the knowledge, but there's not an application of that knowledge.
Wow, that's a very powerful statement, but undeniably true. Now, it's interesting when you say having the knowledge, but then not necessarily applying the knowledge. That's interesting in and of itself. Now, I heard, I went to school for business and have businesses and had businesses in the past. And at first, especially coming into the Nation of Islam, I didn't necessarily want to look at what I was doing as quote unquote selling. But I came across this definition of sale. And it was from a business instructor. And they said that in its truest form, a sale is transferring one's belief to another person, meaning that you effectively have somebody see something the same way you do it. Now, I put that out there because of how Allah has blessed you, and not just your success. Here's the beautiful thing for everybody who's listening and watching. We're not necessarily talking to a brother who has a skill and is blowing up and hiding light under a bushel basket. He's proven that it's not just about him, but he's been able to teach and train others to have success like that. So if I can, I'm gonna try to shrink myself down a little bit and try to crawl into your mind to see if I can see what you see. So when you embark, and we call it soldiering for a reason, when you get ready to leave your house, when you embark to engage our people, what are your goals? What is your mindset? Are you thinking, I want to go out and sell X amount of people? Or how do you approach that?
I like that question. Probably it is the most paramount so far. And now I have to segue and edify and thank our Assistant Supreme Captain, Brother Abdul Aziz Muhammad, for shrinking me or allowing me to shrink myself and helping Allah to make me selfless. For it was a righteous competition in Chicago where I prided myself in winning. Who doesn't want to win? So we had a righteous competition on a Monday morning, leading all the way into FOI class. Me and Brother Yahya Jabril set out to go head up one-on-one with the Final Call newspaper. And I edged him out by just a few Final Call newspapers. And as the FOI were cheering us on in FOI class, then I think the Assistant Supreme Captain, a beautiful brother, as you do know, who exemplifies the path. He is patient. He is attractive in deeds, thoughts, and action. He has various techniques for handling people and a very mighty, powerful, but humble brother clapped and said, "It is great what you have done, but what is more profound and which would make you more great is that you show others how to do what you do. It's good to be number one, but you are a body. We are a body. We are a nation. And wouldn't it be better that our nation be number one?" That was 2013. I think it was 2013. And no, that was not 2013. That was prior to 2013. That was more 2005-ish, somewhere around there. But anyway, I took that training because I've been trying to be number one, keeping up with my mentor, Brother Khalil, may Allah be pleased with him and rest in power, who soldiered all the way to his death, really, literally until his 90s, propagating the faith. He told me this is his way of devotion. He didn't want to mount the rostrum or be number one in speaking. He wanted to show his way of devotion by following the example of Master Father Muhammad, who reproduced himself, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, who reproduced himself, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who reproduced and continues to reproduce himself in us. He said, this is my way of devotion, propagating the faith, distributing the affair, and reproducing himself. And he told me you should always have somebody in the processing class or in the pipeline or in the womb ready to be born into the nation. You should always have someone. So my mindset when I leave out the house every day, who is looking for this truth? You're looking for me, and I'm looking for you. And I'm going to deliver you to the Lamb of God. I'm going to deliver you to the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and give you a front row seat to the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught to us by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So I've learned that the Final Call newspaper goes into the hands of about 7 people. And you'll see this on a daily basis when you're doing this work. You'll see some people who already have the Final Call newspaper on their dashboard, in their passenger seat, in the back seat, and they'll hold it up. I have one. And then that's my opportunity to let them know, this comes out once a week. That's last week. Every week this comes out. 4 times a week, an issue comes out. And if you can spare $2 of your finances to help us make our community a decent and safe place to live. Also, once they give the $2, I tell them from pages 7 to 10, there's a way that you can help fight COVID and never get COVID if you practice these principles on page 7 to 10 and follow the dietary laws as taught to us by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad on page 28 in every Final Call newspaper. So my mindset is the average Final Call goes into the hands of about 7 people. If I can move a bundle or 25 Final Call newspapers every hour, my bundle will be gone in 4 hours. And at the average Final Call goes into the hands of about 7 people, I potentially reach 700 people in 4 hours because it is the same as leaving a magazine in a doctor's or dentist's office. Somebody's going to pick it up, read the article, thumb to it, set it down. Pick it up, read the article, thumb through it, and set it down. And if they're real wise, they'll take that Final Call newspaper home and spread it, the wisdom throughout their family. So my mindset leaving, again, is to not only distribute the affair. We don't use the word selling papers anymore. Taught by Abdul Aziz Muhammad. We're saving souls with the Final Call newspaper.
That's powerful. I want to take you back to something that you said in the beginning when you initially came in contact with the Nation of Islam, and you mentioned a brother who came to the home, but you said he did not present the paper right away, right? Now, I want to take that and also refer to the address that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave to the brothers in regard to selling the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. And he made a statement in there, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's very near correct, where he said that the people are not rejecting the paper.
That's
They
true.
are rejecting us. How do you see that?
When I first heard that, I struggled with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
I asked myself, how are they rejecting me? They don't know who I am. And why are they saying no to the paper? They don't know what it is. That's his point exactly. They don't know who you are, and they don't know what this is. And that's your opportunity to let them know who you are and what this is. And when I understood that, the sky was the limit for me. Once I understood that, so it don't have nothing to do with me per se. It's what I am. It's my cause. It's what I represent. Well, who are you? I'm a son of God. I'm a child of God. I am a God with a small G. I am an individual that is dedicated to making my community a decent and safe place to live. I am a person that wants to reduce violence. I'm a person that wants to see my community a beautiful environment. We don't have to be on the same street. And as you drive from one end of the street to the next street, you can tell when you're into the Black community now, what we call the hood. But if you drive some miles down the same street, the community begins to look beautiful. The lawns are manicured. And then you notice that there's not too many Blacks in this neighborhood, but I want our neighborhood to look the same as any other nationality's neighborhood before gentrification. So the Final Call newspaper is a message dedicated to the resurrection of our people here in America and the world. The Final Call newspaper is not only life-giving, solution-oriented. It addresses all the social ills that plague our community. It will show you how to beat diabetes. It will show you how to beat COVID-19. It will show you how to be evasive and elude some of the traps that this society, I even go so far as to say this government and corporate-driven media is pulling this wool over our eyes. So the Final Call newspaper is not just a newspaper. It is not just the obituary or comics, or it's none of that. It is a message specifically dedicated to the resurrection of our people. So once you're able to articulate to any person, any nationality, any gender, any culture, you will be successful in distributing the affair, which is the Final Call newspaper. You will be successful. So I teach the brothers, don't sell the paper. People support causes. Let them know our cause. Well, what is our cause? To make our community a decent and safe place to live. What is our cause? To reduce violence in our community. What is our cause? To start respecting other people's beliefs and work together as a people. What is our cause? To make this a better place on this earth while we live, to create heaven on earth as was taught to us by Christ of 2,000 years ago.
Beautiful. You know, you brought up something that I want to ask you to entertain for just a moment. And that is, well, I'll share this. I can recall being out in the field selling the Final Call newspaper, and a brother pulled up in the pickup truck. He was upset. I said, brother, what's the problem? Can you talk to me? He said, man, where y'all been? I ain't been seeing y'all out here for a while. Where y'all been? And so, I apologize. We should be more consistent out here and everything like that. I said, have you ever bought a Final Call newspaper before? He said, no, I ain't never bought one, but it's just something about seeing y'all out here that makes me feel a certain way about my community. And I share that story because I know that there is a direct value to us being out into the field, but there's also an intrinsic value, that which we really can't measure, You mentioned, for instance, you mentioned every final call newspaper, one paper going through the hands of 7 individuals. But in addition to that, you're talking about the presence of the FY doing in the field and what impact it might have on the community in general, even to those that might reject us. Can you kind of speak to that intrinsic value that we have?
I'll do it in this way. If you go to the downtrodden parts of our communities, because the Black community is not always downtrodden.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say the Black community, sometimes we just automatically go to the worst of the worst, and that's not the Black community. But I would use the downtrodden, where we like to go first. We go to any community, but we want to go to the poor and despised and rejected, just as our Lord and Savior Christ did.
Mm-hmm.
Peace be. So imagine something that we all don't like. Imagine a bunch of our young brothers sagging, our sisters dressing in these provocative clothes that this enemy designed for them. Brothers with do-rag shirts off, sagging. You know how we dress, those who are not knowledgeable of who we are yet. And then you see brothers infiltrate the community in suits and ties, and sisters with headpieces and full garments. Automatically, our presence in the community gives our people hope. The mothers who see their children die on a weekly, daily basis look at children their age amongst our ranks and say, I wish my son was as disciplined as these brothers are in the Nation of Islam. Sisters who see their daughters experimenting with social media and all these provocative sexual songs and TV shows and videos. And then you see sisters just as attractive, but fully clothed in garments, and they're dressing fashionable, but at the same time, yet attractive. We upgrade the value of that community, just our mere presence. It's called nonverbal communication. And that happens often. That same experience you just spoke of, we hear that on a daily basis when we go in and out of these cities, teaching our brothers our methodology and moving as a unit, not just one brother here or there, but moving as a unit in and out of the community, up and down the streets, in block, out block, in this street, out of this community, into another community with 10, 20, 30, 40 brothers. That right there gives our people hope. And then that energy is transferred automatically. Somebody is saying the same thing that I said when I first came to the mosque. I want to roll with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of them. And so it's a systematic way to counter social engineering. It's a systematic way to break down these barriers between us and our people that our enemy has set up. They have made wrong fair seeming. They have made wrong attractive. And anything that God says don't do, this world says it's okay to do. And then here comes the FOI. Here comes the MGT. Now you got people opening their windows, watching us walk and rolling down the window. I don't want the paper. I just want to support y'all because it's good to see y'all in our community. And it was said to me that whenever we're around, crime goes down in the neighborhood. Because brothers might want to rob and kill, but they see us and they take it somewhere else. One person throws something out the window right while I was soldiering. It might have been some food or the remains of a McDonald's bag, and throw it out the window. And I said, we trying to make our community just as nice as the other nationalities.
Right.
You're not going to throw this trash out the window in the suburbs or in the white community. Don't throw it on the ground in our community. And they would listen, and somebody would ask me to pick it up and give it to them. I said, I'll throw it away for you. But our neighborhood can look just as nice as anyone else's. And you have that fearlessness just to communicate that in a pleasant tone with a smile on their face. And those people, which are our people, will begin to say, you're right. You're right. And so we're taught that community development, it starts with self-improvement. So once we improve ourselves, we improve the community because after all, we used to be the ministers to the society. We used to terrorize these neighborhoods, and now we're back to make a difference.
Man, now that I hope everybody is listening. I hope you pay close attention to what he's saying, because this process that he's been building, and if I can, Brother Hashim, you've been kind of putting a recipe together all throughout this dialogue, hitting on some very, very important points. But you said something in the beginning, and along as you're building this, talking about key points and actions and even mindsets that we should have. Now, as we get into the personal interaction, when you're out in the field, from the time you make eye contact to a person and you begin to engage them, if you will, let's talk about, because normally you don't have a lot of time. People are usually transient. They're not necessarily a captive audience. So when you start to engage an individual, explain to us what's going on in your head in regards to what you're trying to get them to see. And then, because I know this exists, the second part of that question, but can you also explain to us, the transformation that you see in people just in that short dialogue, what you witnessed from interacting with them?
So keeping in mind that what you said is true, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, when they say no, they're not saying no to the paper, they're saying no to you, because you and I have failed to communicate what our cause is and what the Final Call newspaper represents. So my mindset is, it is the parallel of fishing, literal fishing, the sea, the lake, the ocean, many fish in the sea. And I just have to cast my rod, and I do not know what I'm going to pull out. I may be fishing for bass. I may be fishing for whiting, but I may pull out a stingray. I may pull in a turtle. I don't know what my rod is going to catch when I cast my rod. And then the more patient you become, the more you make yourself attractive, the more things you learn to do as far as techniques, which means some of us have went as far as to learn Spanish. This is the technique. Once the person knows our cause, it's kind of hard to say no. Hispanics are our Latino brothers and sisters are some of the most giving people that you will ever encounter. Once you touch the soul of our Hispanic community, you have won some really, really good friends. They support the Final Call newspaper just as much as any other nationality, because who doesn't want to make their community a decent, safe place to live? Who doesn't want to see someone working in their community to make their community a better, thriving, productive, peaceful community? Who doesn't want to see that? Hispanics, whites, Asians probably would love to see the Black community pull itself up by its bootstraps. But many of those nationalities take money out of our community but don't put it back in there. But when you see brothers and sisters, when you see mostly the FOI, well-groomed, suited and booted, no longer sagging, ex-felons, ex-niggas, ex-this and that, come back to the community to deliver the affair, distributing the truth that woke them up, who wants to support that cause? This brother used to rob. He used to murder. He used to burglarize. And now he has allowed these teachings to clean himself up. He didn't just benefit. He came back to the community to help the community benefit. That's a big thing, man, once people understand what is going on. Once people understand what's going on and what you're here for, man, bro, I've seen white supremacists. I've seen white supremacists and ZZ Top white dudes with beards and Davidson leather jackets say, I'm gonna give this money to you. That's really good what you said. And if that's what y'all represent, We all live here. And he right, we all live here. So, man, I don't know if I answered your question, man, but I do know my job is to show brothers what a grandmaster, the assistant supreme captain, has shown me. Don't sell the paper. Don't go out there for the money. Go out there with genuine cause to help that person save themselves, save their lives, give them the truth that's going to help change the condition of their living. When you tell somebody, I have something on page 28 that can help reverse diabetes, that can help you with gout, that can help disseminate obesity. When you tell somebody on this particular article, if you shop at Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, Dollar General, and you eat the plastic, you use those plastic dishes they have, or you let your children play with their plastic toys, did you know that there's lead in those plastics? Lead. And lead detonates, kills brain cells, causes death in a lot of cases. That's in the Final Call newspaper. I learned that in the Final Call newspaper. I shopped and used the plastics out of Dollar Tree and these places. I said, man, these people are very wicked. They're not going to teach us that on ABC, CNN, and NBC. They're not going to teach us that because they're killing our people through our taste buds. And sometimes when we hear low prices, we think better product. Not necessarily the case. Same with food. We think when we hear some food that's inexpensive that is good for us, but not necessarily the case. So these are the type of things that are taught in the Final Call newspaper, not per se changing someone's religion. No, how to change your lifestyle and live a better, productive, long, and fruitful life.
Beautiful. Now, I'm going to ask you this last question as we wrap up. And it's something that you said at the beginning as well. Really, you laid a foundation when you started this conversation that we've just been building on because the way you opened it was so profound. But you have mentioned how you deal with the Final Call newspaper when you go into the field and the blessing that Allah gives you from being successful out in the Final Call with the Final Call newspaper. You mentioned that particular knowledge base and that particular, for lack of a better term, skill set is not just limited to you being in the field, but it transfers to other parts of your life. As we wrap up, can you explain exactly what you mean by that?
It's not a coincidence that the Final Call newspaper was looking for me. The whole system of distributing the Final Call newspaper, the whole system of going after our people is a system that really relates to what was promised to us for going after our people, for returning to our natural way. Before slavery, we were promised money. We were promised friendships in all walks of life. We were promised homes. We was promised peace of mind and contentment, but we would have to put God first. We have to put God first. And so if you remember coming up, I had a speech impediment, quick temper, quick to anger. And if you're going to get what was promised to you, we know that the pearl is in the fish's mouth. We know that people will go to the edge of the world for you when you have a genuine interest in helping them. When people see that you really care, a person that really cares has many friends. A person that is a giver has many, many friends and does not want for anything. In fact, Christ told us, in my Father's house are many mansions. Why are you telling that, Christ? Because if it is our Father that art in heaven and he has many mansions and we are his children, don't you think we would inherit this lifestyle as well? For the earth belongs to the righteous. So this not only applies to me having to learn how to bite this tongue, how to restrain my temper, how to restrain my anger. Now, this is not only translating from getting money and homes, which I've gotten, vehicles which have been given to me for doing this work. Now I got to transfer this energy into my marital life with my wife, because Brother Hashim, he got a temper now. He done lost a few. So you got to be patient with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be patient with your wife. You have to be attractive to your wife. You have to have various techniques for your wife. And you have to remain humble with your wife. So now I got to transfer my success with the Final Call newspaper and saving lives to saving my children and my wife and my family. So the path is not for selling papers. The path is a path to not only freedom, justice, equality, and Islam, but it is to money, friendships in all walks of life, peace of mind, contentment, and homes. You're going to have to remain patient with your growing process. Yes, you're going to mess up. Yes, you might sin. Yes, you have shortcomings. But if you don't abort the mission and you keep the process, you're going to be successful in the end. Thank you for that question.
Thank you for that answer. And what a great way to wrap up this conversation, Brother Hashim. I really have always had a profound respect for you. And after this dialogue, as if it could get any greater, it has. And so I hope that everybody watching and listening really took in those jewels. And I hope you listen to this and watch this a couple of times, especially to the FOI, but to every brother and sister or anybody who watches this. What my brother shared can be a part of your life and can help you in your life, whatever, as he mentioned, whatever the cause is that you feel is important to you. Brother, if you can you, one, tell people how they can get the path, but two, also let people know how they can stay in contact with you, how they can follow you, and all of those good things. Could you kind of give us that information?
Yeah, thank you, brother. So what I would like for you all to do, if you can put this on the screen. On Facebook, my name is Hashim Redeemed Hakim. On IG, it is the same, at Hashim Redeemed Hakim. Follow me there. Also on YouTube, it's just Hashim Hakim. Follow me there. And to order my book, you can go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble, but I would like for you to get it directly from me. I have wholesale prices, and I have a book and a tutorial DVD, and a shout out to all the sisters who are getting digital subscriptions and mailing out subscriptions based on the techniques that I've given in my book. So you can contact me directly, and you can put this on the screen. My number is area code 904-426-2397. Again, that number is area code 904-426-2397. And what I want you to do is text PATH to that number. Just text PATH, PATH, to that number. And we'll show you how to get the book and the DVD. And perhaps you will be on your way to making your community a decent and safe place to live. Thank you, brother.
Beautiful. Thank you. And that information, you'll see it right on the screen. All of the contact information, you'll see all of that information. And as well as if you could make sure that we want to continue, I can see why our brother, our Assistant Supreme Captain, our Grandmaster Abdulaziz Muhammad wanted to make sure, and the Supreme Captain wanted to make sure people had an opportunity to learn from this brother, because he has even more to give than what's in the path. And so you want to make sure to stay in contact with my brother. I'm honored to have an opportunity to learn from you, brother. And I want to make sure everybody, again, subscribe to the official Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad's YouTube channel. You also want to follow him on Facebook. You want to make sure to follow him at Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad on Facebook, and make sure to stay in contact with the National Training Corps. You can find us on Facebook, NOI-NTC. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at NOI-NTC. Once again, I'm honored to have an opportunity to just be a host and really during this conversation, a student to listen to everything our brother has mentioned. I want to thank Allah for, of course, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, our beautiful Supreme Captain and our Assistant Supreme Captain. And you stay tuned to the National Training Corps Beyond the Mat. Beyond the Mat. Brother Hashim, it has been an honor. May Allah continue to bless you with success and your family. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.